What's going on, good people? Back at it again. I've been taking a little small hiatus, but I'm back now. So let's just get right into it. So today's topic that I want to discuss is Bill Cosby got let out of prison. Actually, he was released from prison and he was fully exonerated. So that's been a topic for the last 3 or 4 days. I've been watching different news cycles cover it, and it made me want to do a video about it. Now, normally I don't get into trying to adjust my camera. I ain't did this in a minute, so let me get this thing right. Normally I don't get into that type of stuff where we're talking about different things that happen in the news as far as CNN and Fox News and all these things. But this particular one I wanted to cover because it highlights a bigger problem that America just won't address, and Black people are so gullible too. So first, let me just break it down to you guys if you don't know why Bill Cosby was released, because I hear certain news outlets saying that it was a technicality. It's not a technicality. It was not a technicality. All right. And they're saying that to minimize or to basically say that he's not innocent. That's why they're saying that. So they're not talking about a due process from a due process, a justice standpoint. See, in America, we have what is called the rule of law. And the rule of law is supposed to be paramount, and it's supposed to be the thing that separates America from most countries. And so now, in being Black in America, we don't exactly, experience the full extent to the rule of law as far as how it can benefit us. And this is the one time that the rule of law has actually, in my recent memory, has benefited a Black man. So let me break it down to you what it was. Okay. The reason why the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania exonerated and had Bill Cosby immediately released and his conviction overturned is because Bill Cosby wasn't supposed to go to trial in the first place. Bill Cosby had basically, okay, if you guys know the accuser in the case name was Andrea Constand, right? So her and Bill Cosby had what I call a fair exchange. Okay. And your fair exchanges, if you don't know what they are, they're agreements, man. People, they do it all the time. Like rich people do it all the time. They have agreements with different women and say, hey, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to do this, but you're going to be my woman when I come over there and I want to do what I want to do. That's what's going to happen. So I call those fair exchanges. I don't think it's right. I don't think people should do them, but it is what it is. Now, what happened was Miss Constantine alleges that Bill Cosby gave her some Benadryl. Because I know people talking about Quaaludes, but no, it was Benadryl. If you actually look at the deposition, it was Benadryl that he allegedly gave her to help her sleep. And then when she woke up, her clothes were haywire, so she felt like she had been sexually assaulted. Now, she went to, a year later after this situation happened, she went to try to have charges brought on Bill Cosby, and the prosecutor at the time didn't feel like it was enough evidence to get a conviction. He felt like because she kept changing her testimony, he also felt like because it was hard for her to prove that a sexual assault had actually happened. He was like, we're not going to be able to get a conviction. So he chose not to bring charges. But what he did is that he set it up to where, and you have to understand how the civil court versus the criminal court works. They work different. Civil court is supposed to be, for lack of a better word, were you a cause of were you a possible cause of this situation to happen? Versus a criminal court is supposed to be beyond a shadow of a doubt. Like you are the person, like it's 100% sure that you did these things. And that's how it's easier to prove a civil case than it is a criminal case. Okay. So what the prosecutor did was, because Bill Cosby was not going to testify, he was not going to sit for a deposition, because we have what is called a Fifth Amendment. If you don't know what the Fifth Amendment is, it's basically you have the right not to testify against yourself, to incriminate yourself. So you don't have to sit down and give a testimony that's going to implicate you in anything. You don't have to do it. That's why you hear people say, I plead the Fifth, because you have the right of the Fifth Amendment. So basically, that's what happened with Bill Cosby. He refused to sit for a deposition. He's like, I'm not going to say anything that's going to incriminate myself. And it wasn't a matter of had he had committed an act and he didn't want to just, let basically confess to committing a crime. But that's not how criminal law works. Criminal law is up for interpretation. So he basically, and with his team of lawyers, felt like it'd be best that he didn't testify. So what the prosecutor did was he made a deal with Bill Cosby, and he said, listen, he forced him to testify in a deposition by removing the threat of prosecution. So once you remove the threat of prosecution, now you don't have a right to plead the Fifth. You basically forfeit your Fifth Amendment right. That's kind of like the only way that you can do it. Is that you have to talk in a legal setting if you're not up under threat of criminal prosecution. So that's why Bill Cosby had to sit for the deposition. And once that was put on the table, he agreed, because the threat of prosecution is gone. He could never be prosecuted. He waived his Fifth Amendment right, all of those things. Well, what happened was a prosecutor came in behind the former prosecutor. A new prosecutor came in and decided that he was going to prosecute Bill and use the deposition that he sat for as the primary evidence of any guilt. Basically, you know how I've said the Fifth Amendment, you don't have to testify against yourself. Basically, use Bill Cosby's testimony against him, so it violated his Fifth Amendment rights. He was never, and it was a deal struck between him and the prosecutor, so he was never supposed to be brought to trial anyway, period. Doesn't matter what you think about Bill Cosby. Doesn't matter if you feel like Bill Cosby did something crazy. Doesn't matter. He was not supposed to be tried. That was the deal. Okay? So when they tried him, they actually violated his constitutional rights. It's not a technicality. A technicality is a police officer pulls somebody over and they illegally search the trunk and find a dead body. So a person, they may have killed that person, or they may have committed a crime, but because the police officer did an illegal search, now the illegal search can't be admissible in court. So the actual murder goes away free. That's a technicality. This was about procedural and due process and violating someone's constitutional rights. Okay. So now that I've said all that, let's talk about the propaganda that's been pushed. Listen, the biggest problem in America is the court of public opinion, the propaganda, right? So Bill Cosby has never been able to be proven that he assaulted anyone. You can think what you want to think, but you have her word against him. And they're saying he did, and he's saying I didn't. That's it. As of right now, that's where we're at. You can come to your own conclusions and be like, well, I believe he did it. Or you can say, well, I believe he didn't do it. It doesn't really matter, because the court has said he cannot be tried for these things because he waived his Fifth Amendment right. And like I said, if you go back and you look at the deposition, he never admitted to drugging people to rape them. That's not what happened. He didn't do that. When you say you drug somebody, that means you gave them something and they didn't know. No, he would give them medicine to help relax him. They will take it. It wasn't like something that he was forcing on them. Okay. Now, I'm not defending anybody. I'm just saying this is the facts, and we got to stop getting ahead of ourselves, because I watched the CNN video and they brought up all. Now, Bill Cosby's been released. He's been exonerated. They brought up 60 women on the screen and say these are all his accusers. So it doesn't really matter in the court of public opinion whether he's guilty or not. What matters is what people feel. Hold on for a second. Go get my little Coca-Cola there. But anyway, so here's the conversation I want to have after I've said everything. Okay. Listen. Any form of assault, sexual assault, whatever it is, to anybody, male or female, is a violation of those people. It's wrong. All right. But what we have to be careful about, and especially Black people, which grinds my gears, I don't understand why we don't understand the history of that. We are accused of something, and it doesn't matter whether it's right. It doesn't matter whether it's factual. It doesn't matter if the information is accurate. Once they've accused us of this, we're branded, right? Now, Bill Cosby has been affected in a major way. Bill Cosby may not be sitting behind bars, but Bill Cosby's legacy has been tainted. Okay, Bill Cosby has lost all kind of monetary deals because of these accusations. So those are things that he'll never be able to recover. Now, in the event that he actually did do that, then maybe some form of justice is served. But if he didn't, then there's a great injustice that has been served. But this discussion wanted me to talk about something bigger, which is, do we just arbitrarily believe all women when they say that they have been assaulted, sexually assaulted, or raped? Do we say, let's just believe them? Because there's pretty good evidence that when we do those things, that sometimes, and a lot of times, the women are actually lying. So you don't believe me? Okay. I'm going to take one case in history. And I'm going to bring this video to an end after I say this. I'm going to show you something. Okay. Y'all know who this is? This is Mamie Till, right? She was the mother of Emmett Till. This, in Emmett Till's, this is his corpse, right? Let's just go down and read it. In August 1955, Emmett Till, a Black teenager from Chicago, was visiting relatives in Mississippi when he stopped at Bryant's grocery and meat market. There he encountered Carolyn Bryant, a white woman. Whether Till really flirted with Bryant or whistled at her isn't known. But what happened 4 days later is Bryant's husband, Roy, and his half-brother, J.W. Milam, seized the 14-year-old from his great-uncle's house. The pair then beat Till, shot him, and strung barbed wire and a 75-pound metal fan around his neck and dumped the lifeless body in the Tallahatchie River. A white jury quickly acquitted the men, with one jury saying it had been taking so long only because they had to break to drink some pop. So they basically said it took longer, only because they had took a break to drink some soda. When Till's mother, Mamie, came to identify her son, She told the funeral director, "Let the people see what I've seen." She brought him home to Chicago and insisted on an open casket. Now that's a strong woman. Tens of thousands filed past Till's remains, but it was the publication of the searing funeral image in jet with a stoic Mamie glazing at her murdered child's ravaged body that forced the world to reckon with the brutality of American racism. For almost a century, African Americans were lynched with regularity and impunity. Now, thanks to a mother's determination to expose the barbarousness of the crime, the public could no longer pretend to ignore what they couldn't see. This is how beautiful this baby was. Just a handsome dude. Look at them eyes. He's full of life. Let's take that back again. I want y'all to look at that image. Look. That's how bad they beat that baby. How bad they beat him. To the point that he couldn't be identified. The only way that she was able to identify him was his father's watch. And his father had gave him his father's ring, basically, that she had gave him. Okay, I'm back. We act like these moments in time don't exist. We get so caught up in our emotions that we ignore facts. We rush to judgment. We don't stop to gather all the information. That is the very reason why we're supposed to have a court of law. The information is supposed to be gathered outside a court of law, and it's supposed to be a jury of your peers that determine whether or not that of whether the evidence supports the fact that you're guilty or not guilty. Now, my thing is that we have to be extremely careful about this whole let's just believe women just cuz. We have to. We have to be very careful about those things. We also have to stop ignoring the fact that a lot of women put themselves in situations because you have men that have power and money, and we know women are attracted to power and money. I'm not saying that men don't take advantage of women, they do, but women take advantage of men as well. We have to stop seeing women as being these innocent little creatures that have been taken advantage of all the time, because a lot of times that's not the case. Men do believe that money and power means that they can basically have what they want. And for the most part, women prove men right all the time, because I know plenty of men, not personally, but there's stories of plenty of men that have flown strange women out from IG, from Instagram, to Miami, to Dubai, to different places, knowing that the men just wanted to have sex. And they go because the man has money, they have power, they get to be on yachts, they get to drive Porsches, they get to drive Ferraris, they get to do all of those things. So we can't excuse the behavior of women. Women, anybody listening, please stop placing yourself in situations because a man may have money or power. Okay? Don't treat yourself like a high class or a low class prostitute. That's all I got to say. I'm gonna bring this video to a close, and I'm out.